Imagine your apartment has a slow electrical fire in the walls, but you don't see the flames and the lights still work. Everything seems fine, but every day it gets worse. And by the time you smell smoke, it's already too late. That's the US national debt. It's massive, it's growing, and most people don't think about it or actively avoid thinking about it until it starts burning through everything we care about. Jobs, prices, opportunity. Should you care? Does the national debt really matter, or is it fear-mongering? Let's take a closer look. First off, what is the national debt? It's not some abstract, made-up number. It's the total amount the US government has borrowed and still owes. As of now, that number is over $36 trillion. Trillion. That's more than the entire US economy produces in a year. If the average Uber ride to and from your favorite bar costs $50, spending $36 trillion means you could go out every single night for a mere 1.9 billion years. But who do we owe this unfathomable amount of money to? A big chunk of it, about $29 trillion, is debt held by investors, banks, pension funds, and even foreign governments like China and Japan. The rest is IOUs between government agencies like the Treasury and Social Security. Eventually, this debt has to be paid. But here's the kicker. We're not even trying. We're just paying interest on the debt, a lot of it. In 2024, the government spent $882 billion just covering this interest. That's more than it spent on Medicare, more than on the military. And the interest is projected to hit $1 trillion per year very soon. It's like your least favorite cousin throwing wild parties every weekend on your credit card and you get the bill each month forever. Oh yeah, and then your kids inherit the bill. Some say the government's always been in debt. What's the big deal? Here's the big deal. Debt doesn't just sit there. It changes how the economy works. One, it crowds out private investment. When the government borrows huge amounts of money, it does so from a limited pool of available savings. That means fewer dollars for small businesses, home buyers, or entrepreneurs to borrow. Over time, that means slower growth and fewer opportunities. This is known as the crowding out effect. Not only does government borrowing redirect monies from industries we prefer and shift them to what government officials desire, but as Murray Rothbard states, diversion and waste of savings from investment causes interest rates to be higher than they otherwise would, since now private uses must compete with government demands. Higher interest rates mean the interest on the debt increases, reinforcing the problem. Number two, it limits future options. When you're already in over your head, it's harder to handle surprises. So what happens when another pandemic comes along? How about a war or a recession? A high debt country has less room to act because it has already maxed out its national credit card. Number three, it fuels inflation. To fund spending not supported by existing revenue, such as taxes, the government borrows. Banks lend the government money in exchange for treasury bonds, which are essentially IOUs. Then the federal government buys these treasury bonds back from the banks and pays them for it by crediting the bank's accounts at the Federal Reserve with new money. Instead of the money printers literally spinning up, this new money is simply written into existence. This is completely new money, which inflates the money supply, thereby creating monetary inflation and the infamous higher prices that come along with it. The bank gets their money back plus interest, and the US taxpayer is left with the tab. Economist Friedrich Hayek put it bluntly, history is largely a history of inflation. Usually inflation's engineered by governments for the gain of governments. To be clear, that gain is at your expense. Number four, it hurts the US credit rating. When a country takes on too much debt without a plan to pay it back, credit agencies take notice. In fact, the US has already been downgraded by major credit rating agencies twice in the last decade. That's like your bank saying, "We trust you, just a little less now." Lower credit ratings mean higher borrowing costs, and that just accelerates the debt spiral. More debt means a worse rating, which means higher interest rates that result in even more debt. It's a vicious cycle, and it puts the entire economy at risk. Plus, borrowing enables more reckless government spending on wasteful projects than raising taxes would allow. Debt may not explode today, but it quietly makes everything else worse. You might hear someone say, "Relax, we owe the debt to ourselves." Well, that sounds nice until you realize how it actually works. About a quarter of the debt is held by foreign governments. The rest is mostly held by Americans, banks, pension funds, even wealthy individuals. So when the government pays interest on that debt, it's taking tax dollars from everyone and sending checks to a relatively small group of lenders. It's a wealth transfer from the many to the few. Henry Hazlitt reminds us every dollar of government spending must be raised through a dollar of taxation, either now or later. The key word, later. Debt doesn't just cancel out. It just shifts the burden to someone else, usually someone younger. Thanks a lot, guys. Modern monetary theory, or MMT, says we shouldn't worry about the debt. Why? Because the US prints its own money, so we can't go broke. If we need more cash, just hit print. In fact, Stephanie Kelton writes in her book, The Deficit Myth, the national debt poses no financial burden whatsoever. Sounds more like magic monetary theory. But printing more money without creating more value is like watering down your Celsius. Sure, you get more liquid, but it tastes way worse. That's exactly what happened after COVID. We ran multi-trillion-dollar deficits, and the Federal Reserve helped by buying up debt. Soon after, we got the worst inflation in 40 years. Groceries, gas, rent, they all jumped. The Fed had to slam the brakes with higher interest rates, which ironically made the debt even more expensive. So no, you can't just print your way out. There's no such thing as a free lunch, especially not when the bill comes in dollars that are worth less tomorrow. The good news? Debt isn't destiny. It's a choice. We can spend more wisely, stop treating debt like a cheat code, and focus on building a future we can actually afford. Because debt itself isn't evil, but pretending it doesn't matter, that's dangerous on a whole new level. A strong economy can handle hard times, but no economy can outrun math. So, does the national debt still matter? Only if you care about higher prices, slower growth, fewer jobs, and getting stuck with somebody else's crazy bar tab. In other words, yes, of course. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and check out fee.org for more content that demystifies economics. And stick around for more Fee Explains, where we break down the fallacies and fog of modern economics before they burn down your house.